Where do you think we get the word happy from? Let's take a moment to delve into its origins and see what's changed over the years. The term traces its roots back to the Old Norse word hap, which referred to luck or chance, as opposed to the mood that good luck or chance puts you in. Over centuries, the meaning of hap transformed, morphing into a word that signifies a feeling of joy or contentment. The first time happy was used in the English language was around the late 14th century, but it still didn't quite mean what it does today. Back then, to be happy was to be fortunate or to find oneself in advantageous circumstances. Isn't it fascinating how words evolve and adapt over time, much like us? So there you go. Came from the Vikings in the 1300s and meant lucky. How nice. Now, let's turn to something that rarely correlates with happiness: budget. The term budget has a rather quaint origin. It was around in Middle English as the word budget, a term that was borrowed from Old French budget, which charmingly translates to a small bag. Now, in those olden days, this small bag, or budget, was employed to hold documents or money. Just imagine, a small pouch safeguarding your precious coins or important papers. I guess some people may have had big bags for this, but there would be thieving peasants to worry about. And I don't think French had a suffix meaning big in the same way that été means small. Anyhow, it was not until the 18th century that the term budget began to evolve and take on a new meaning. It gradually came to denote a financial plan, a calculated allocation of resources. So the next time you find yourself amongst a gaggle of etymology nerds, you can stand on a little bag and tell them all you can't pay for lunch because you're on a budget. That was awful. Speaking of lunch, next up is stew. This hearty term has a delicious history, steeped in centuries of culinary evolution. That's a perfunctory nonsense sentence meaning stew's been around forever, and it's made by everybody. That's probably because it's tasty and cheap. Everybody likes a nice stew. Our word stew originates from the Old French term esteuver, which means to bathe or soak. Quite a fitting origin, wouldn't you say? Bathing ingredients in a bath of flavours, slowly simmering them into a mouth-watering melange. That's more perfunctory nonsense, meaning that it's easy to make too. By the time the 14th century rolled around, stew had simmered its way into the English language. Here's some conjecture. When words get borrowed into a language, there's a few standard adjustments that happen. Here, stew dropped two of the original syllables, keeping just the one that carried the meaning. So we got stew. Interestingly, stew was initially used to refer to a vessel for cooking, a pot where all the magic happened. But the meaning eased back to the sense of the original, describing a dish cooked by simmering. Its first attestation in English came about in the early 14th century. Here's a bonus stew fact. In Japanese, the word nabe means both a stew cooked in a pot as well as the pot itself. This seems to be a human go-to strategy. The thing being cooked and the thing it's cooked in often have the same word. How economical. Here's an extra bonus question. Can you think of any society on Earth that doesn't have some sort of stew in their cuisine? I can't. If you can, though, good for you. Well, that's about it then. Happy comes from Old Norse and meant lucky, budget comes from little French bags, and stew comes from the French word for simmering a bunch of things in a pot because they couldn't afford to order in. The only thing older and more widespread than stew might be tasty bits cooked on a stick. There's probably a dissertation project there for somebody to work on. Imagine the travel grants. What fun! Goodbye.